My voice changed in the summer between my sophomore and junior years in high school, and I was really fortunate. I went to a very athletically inclined, but also very, good academic, good solid high school in Seattle called O'Day. And I came back junior year and I'm not saying I was talking like this, but it was close. And people were like, "Oh, you've got to do something with your voice, and you got to figure out something to do with that. 'Cause that's just too much of a gift not to use." So much, Justin Allen. Real pleasure to be here, and glad to follow in the footsteps of many other great guests that I've seen you had recently, including some other great WNBA PA announcers, and I think our own Braden Bell from the Mercury.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was cool to talk to. We talked to him way earlier in the season, and he was the voice of Unrivaled too. So he was an
yeah,
awesome guest.
no,
Uh,
and Desert Valley Sons as well out here. Just a
oh,
great guy, real impressive up and coming talent. So look forward
yeah,
to lots of great things from him in the future. So
totally agree. Before we delve into your career, we have a bit of a tradition on our show. So take this question any way you want it. What is your first or favorite basketball memory?
oh man, I mean, I remember I didn't go to a lot of sporting events as a kid. And I grew up in Seattle, so it was the Sonics in the what would that have been, late '80s probably. And I just remember a friend of my mom's gave us tickets, let us use his tickets to a game, and I was just so enamored with the bright lights and the big scoreboard and the obviously the talent, but um I lost my delusions of ever playing basketball at about 14, and I was attracted to the show. I it probably didn't register at the moment, but I was really attracted to the show part of it, and that's what stuck with me for all these years. So probably going like say what was it, Key Arena or whatever it was called before that in the '80s, and then watching those great Sonics teams throughout the '90s. So yeah.
So when we interview other public address announcers, I'm always so fascinated by their journey into this industry. And everybody has a different origin story. So can you kind of
Absolutely.
get into yours before we jump into specifically the Mercury?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people ask how I got into this, and I give them a very straightforward answer, and it's puberty. My voice changed in the summer between my sophomore and junior years in high school, and I was really fortunate. I went to a very athletically inclined, but also very, good academic, good solid high school in Seattle called O'Day. And I came back junior year and I'm not saying I was talking like this, but it was close. And people were like, "Oh, you've got to do something with your voice, and you got to figure out something to do with that. 'Cause that's just too much of a gift not to use." And fortunately, had a really good teacher who he would do play by play of our football games on the radio, and so he was welcome to kind of taking me under his wing. So I would do stats during the game, and then I would do the halftime show, basically kind of talking about what's going on in the league and stuff like that. So making phone calls and getting scores during the game and stuff. And then he was the PA announcer for our basketball team, and he says, "Why don't you, if you want to do this, I'll teach you everything I know." And it started out by doing JV games, and then he's like, "Yeah, you've got basically the gist of it. So do varsity," and so did that for 2 years. Then I went to the University of San Francisco, did soccer, volleyball, baseball, a little bit of basketball, and kept just, and it's just kind of always stuck with me. And truly, that's like I said, when I was 14 and I started high school, I knew two things. That was I was going to be an accountant, and I was going to play varsity basketball. And I figured out the basketball part about day one of high school because I went to school with a lot of AAU players and guys. Like I was a bench rider in CYO, so it got exposed pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be playing basketball. And then the accountant thing kind of fell away about junior year, and I was like, I need to start doing something with the voice. And so the whole world of broadcasting and media and all that stuff came along. So that's really truly how I got into it, and it's just something I've stuck with ever since.
So you have various other just gigs that you do. What made you fall into the Mercury gig specifically?
So I had lived in Seattle until the fall of 2009, and I had done various stuff. I used to work with the Storm and the Sonics. I used to run their music for game days. Did a bunch of one-off events. Would fill in at my high school, train new people just to kind of show them how to do it. And so, but really did get tired of the Northwest winters, And so moved to Phoenix and just started looking at opportunities that were coming up. Obviously, we have a lot of spring training ballparks, so that's really where I kind of got my first. Um, I planted my first flag, which is out of Goodyear Ballpark, which is home of the Reds and Guardians right now, and was out there for a couple of years. Moved over to Salt River Fields, which is where the Rockies and the D-backs play. And I was sitting at home. I want to say it was 2016, and a buddy of mine who does stats for the Suns and Mercury uh, was at the game. They're having it was like an exhibition day or a preseason game, and he texted me and he's like, "You need to call or email everybody at the Suns and Mercury you can find who looks like they have anything to do with the PA announcer because I think their guy got fired." And I don't know if that's completely like the case, but he was no longer with the organization for whatever reason. He was also the VP of entertainment, and so I'm sitting there on Mother's Day in my apartment in downtown Phoenix, just looking for anybody's email I can find saying, "Hi, I know this is a cold email, but I heard that you might be in need of a PA announcer for the coming year. Here's my resume, da 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 da. I live literally a 15-minute walk up the street from you." And as I was told, it was sort of an abrupt decision that this person wasn't going to be doing PA anymore. So they had brought in somebody who's also a longtime PA announcer down here in the Valley, because I think they just wanted stability, like, and not have to do a search for somebody. And so later that summer, they conducted a formal, application, audition, tryout stuff. Went down, and the guy had done both the Suns and the Mercury. And so I think it got down to 3 of us as finalists, and then it got down to 2 of us. And the powers that be selected 1 for the Suns and 1 for the Mercury. I guess they wanted either 2 sounds or 2 styles, or just to have 2 people that knew what they were doing on hand. So I got the Mercury job. The person that got the Suns job is a wonderful guy named Vince Marotta. He's on the radio down here. And he was also doing the Arizona Rattlers at the time, which is our indoor football league team. And because the Suns play a lot of games and he's a dad and has a morning show and like all those things, he pretty much offered me if I wanted to do the Rattlers as he moved over to the Suns. So I actually got those 2. They played in the same building for many, many years. And yeah, and that's how I got into the Mercury. And Vince and I back each other up in theory. And so if he can't do a game and I'm in town, like I'll head down to the arena, do a game. And then out of that also begot the Valley Suns, which is our new G League team, which had its first season last year. So I was their main PA announcer. And then we have a backup to me who, in theory, is going to be in our mix for, other opportunities that may come along, whatever that may mean. So that's was 2017, I think, 2016, and first season was 2017. So.
Oh, that's really cool. It's quite a journey to go from all the green of the Northwest to the desert.
Yeah, I swung the pendulum pretty hard in that regard, but I love the Northwest. I will say nothing bad about it. And I always tell people, go up there between July 5th and Labor Day weekend and you'll never want to leave. It's the other weeks you got to deal with. And we kind of have a saying that, that you can make it to you're about, oh boy, about 30ish, and if you're going to like it long term. And I got to 28 and went, nah, I need more sun. I was brought up in the wrong place for that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome. We were talking a little bit beforehand. I made a similar move from the wintry Chicago to Albuquerque. So I love it here. The weather is just wonderful and all that.
Oh,
I get where you're coming from. Wanted to ask you kind of about the Mercury. Well, actually, I want to ask. So there's a lot of talk about Caitlin, a lot of talk about Paige, a lot of talk about Asia. But you, on a night-to-night basis, get to see what has been a pretty historic season, including some record-breaking triple-double kind of performances from Alyssa Thomas. Do you want to touch on that a little bit and kind of give us what it's like to kind of be there and see what she's been doing this year?
Yeah, it's truly amazing. It's almost hard to quantify because she's in so many plays in one way or another, and you just kind of get used to the fact that the ball's either going to go through her or to her. And I mean, there's a lot of players who are on the other teams in the league, and they come into town and you watch them and you're like, man, I'd really like to have so and so on my team for one reason or another. Just for whatever reason, they all seem to fill out the stat sheet. They all seem to, have a hand in the way the game turns out. And I knew that about Alyssa, but I didn't know it quite as intently as I do now, having her here every game. I mean, she's remarkable in so many ways. Not only is she really, really good at just being a basketball player, I mean, she's a creator, which is really, really fun. And I think about, back to like Diana and people that just like a Sue Bird that just have these visions that it's like they're looking at the court in, you know, better than human eyes, and they can just see things that either we don't see. I mean, it's the whole like Wayne Gretzky thing, Why do you score so much? Well, I don't skate to where the puck is. I skate to where it's going to be. And she sees that sort of 2-3 seconds ahead with everybody. And yeah, I mean, just, you watch it in our, we're always checking the monitor for how the stats are totaling up. And it's, again, like she's almost stealthy in how she does it all, because she just, the ball finds her and she puts herself in the right position a lot of the time. And it's always, I mean, it seems like every game she's either got a triple double or knocking right on it. Like last night, I think it was 22, 9, and 9. And even if she may not be having the greatest shooting night or whatever, she's still creating something for the other people on the team. So yeah, it's been really, really impressive to watch her. And again, I sort of think of her as one of those players like, a Jose Ramirez from the Guardians, who you don't appreciate until you see it day in and day out. And I have a much, much bigger appreciation for her all-around game and ability this year than I've had over the years that she's been in the league. So
You mentioned just what Alyssa Thomas is going through, yourself being courtside for all these games this season, as well as Diana Taurasi's legacy as well. What is it like for you in terms of how you get into these games yourself? We've had some other PA announcers saying sometimes they need to decompress after the game is over. It's
oh
just
yeah.
so intense. So, what is kind of your routine from like the beginning of the day to the end, especially when there's an intense game, where it's a playoff game or a game of importance? What's that routine like for you?
Yeah, so I would say our individual game, or let me say this, my individual game prep probably starts actually about 3 days before the game itself. We our director TJ Walker will send out kind of the first run through of the script. So we're looking at, well, I'm kind of getting a feel for what maybe some of the elements are that are going to be part of that night. We do a lot of theme nights, so sometimes there's a certain vibe that you're both trying to capture, but also just trying to kind of let be. And the Mercury obviously taking on a lot of issues, social issues, and the W does really for that matter as well. So we're looking at the script probably 2-3 days ahead of time, and not just for like say the typos and making sure things sound right and sound good, but kind of getting the vibe of it. Then you're looking at who you're playing, and if there's any connections that may be influential or any personnel that may be influential. Obviously, we had the Fever here recently. Caitlin Clark is still traveling, so she's a presence unto herself. DeWanna Bonner, who's now back with the Mercury, was there, and there's, I don't know if you want to call it animosity, but there's something there. When they were here earlier in the year, Sophie Cunningham, longtime Mercury player, I think 5 years, beloved here, and truly, I just think one of the, at least for me, one of the handful of people that I would really put up there is like, people that go out of their way to make everybody, or as many people as they can, feel valued and welcomed and appreciated and stuff like that. And we had a couple other former players, Breonna Turner, Shea Petty, who were on the Fever. You know, so you're just kind of trying to look at all that, and then I get to the arena a little before 5 o'clock for a 7 o'clock tip off. We have a meeting at about 5:15, and it's both to go over the script itself and to sort of review any potential things that may be coming up. For instance, like one of the big ones was I was filling in for Vince for a Suns game this winter, and it was a game where Kevin Durant could very likely have had his 30,000th point. And we knew exactly like what the moment was going to be when he hit it. You know, play was going to stop, I think. And like when Diana had her 10,000th point, you know, we knew that like they were going to stop play. We were going to do this sort of recognition. It was going to be quick. We were going to get the ball out, you know, all these kind of little mechanical things. And, you know, I'm very much like, I want to think about what I want to say and how I want to say it, but I also don't want to be so married to it that it loses that little edge of spontaneity and edge of the moment. So we go through and we, you know, we'll workshop a couple of things throughout the week if it's big. And again, you know, the mood changes sometimes during the night, and you go, man, oh man, like we want to redo it this way, or we want to. This is really becoming some big historic kind of thing, and we want to maybe just shift the focus a little this direction with our language. So, you know, then you kind of get into it, and then once the game goes, you're obviously occupied with the game because you can't necessarily be waiting for a certain moment to happen. Yet at the same time, like we'll put something out in front of us. It says like DT needs X number of points. Alyssa needs 5 rebounds to set the single season franchise mark, you know, or whatever. So we'll keep a little track. And like I say, TJ's really great with interfacing with our PR director. So he knows the general gist of what he needs to get me for when those moments happen. If we don't have something completely written up and firmed up, and a lot of times he'll slide me something or put it. We use an online program for our scripting and stuff, and he can just, you know, kind of give me the bullet points, put it on my screen on my iPad, and he trusts me to let me run with it and deliver it and sell it, and let the fans take over from there. So
that's awesome. I like the trust he has in you, because it's good to hear that there's a lot of thought put into it. I mean, has there ever been a time where you kind of had a sudden spontaneous moment where you kind of ad-lib something that really took off?
oh yeah, it's I remember particularly this year. I'll never forget the game. It may have been opening night or something, and TJ likes to sort of know what I'm thinking about, and we'll bounce ideas off. And you know, we have not like a go-to sheet of things, but we have some things. And you know, like one of the things that Nate Tibbetts, our head coach, was big on and preaching this year was all gas, no brakes. So we'll save that for like fourth quarters and stuff like that if we really need to make a run. But we had a big moment. I think it was opening night, and sort of off the cuff, I just came up with X Factor. It don't matter if you're a day one or this is game one. You need to get on your feet and make some noise for your Phoenix Mercury. And he's just like, where did that come from? And I was like, hey, man, it comes from where it comes from. And our president texts TJ from the other side of the court, and he goes, somebody tell Pat that was an absolute bar. And I was like, once in a while you hit one, you know? And I think that's just knowing, you know, I'm still figuring out our X Factor and our fans some days, because, you know, they've been there for almost 30 years. I've been there for 8, or no, I guess this is 9 now. You know, their traditions, what gets them up, what gets them motivated. And, you know, I think that's one of our big things, is that we have a lot of history with this team, but we also have a lot of people who are coming for the first time. And I think just seeing, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on our first year X Factor members this year. I think it was the first time, I can't remember the exact metric, and I don't want to misstate it. We had a lot of them. Like, we did special first year X Factor member events before the season to get them ready. we our in-game host Wheezy and I did a video of like, you know, when we're shooting free throws and I say shooting two, you say making two, and when the other team you say missing two, and just like all these kind of little you know, the call and responses, the chants that we do. I mean, we really made an effort to get them up to speed. And like I said, and then there's people that have been there for 30 years. Um, you know, they've seen every championship. They remember Diana as a rookie, Brittney as a rookie. They remember the early days. And it's a real fascinating time to be in the W right now because you have the Caitlin Clarks and the Paige Bueckers. And I mean, I wish, you know, and Rakia Jackson, and I'm just trying to think, and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible time, and that's bringing in a lot of new people. And so we want to make sure that, you know, they feel welcome and that they understand that, you know, this is not like Caitlin Clark didn't start the WNBA. You know, we've been here for a while now. And like I said, I was fortunate to see a lot of great players when I was with the Storm. And yeah, so I think it's just, you know, you kind of go back to those moments of you just kind of try and read the room and hope something comes out. And if not, you know, you got some standbys in your back pocket.
So how is the fan dynamic now with the new addition? Have you noticed in terms of the crowd being different, just in terms of newer fans, or is the same core energy there with the Mercury? Like you're saying, you have a lot of history with the team. So have you noticed a change just due to the surge of popularity with the W within the last few years, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I certainly, I mean, the number one way I can tell you is the attendance numbers. I mean, we're up to 15 or 16 sellouts this year. And, you know, we use our lower bowl primarily, but I can tell you it's the upper bowl has been open more nights than it hasn't. And that's a real testament to the growth and popularity. You know, I think I hear a lot of people tell me it's their first game or this is their first season really coming out. Um, you know, I don't know if it's curiosity or they, you know, or whatever it may be, but you know, the game is its own thing, and that's what's fun about it is like you can't come to a WNBA game and expect to see an NBA level or style of basketball. It's just they're two different things. But that doesn't mean that they're not as exciting, if not more. That doesn't mean that you don't see incredibly talented players doing incredibly skillful things. Um, and it doesn't mean that there's not, you know, a dynamic nature and tension and drama and storylines and all these other things. And, you know, it's sometimes the good guy becomes the bad guy and the bad guy becomes the good guy. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, you know, when Kalia Copper and Sophie Cunningham got tangled up on the floor. And I was like, boy, I don't like this Kalia Copper person. And oh, guess what? She plays for us now. Like, no, I love her, you know, like, and same thing. Like, I don't think Sophie's you know, I mean, I still think Sophie's fantastic. I don't always agree with everything she does. She probably doesn't care what I think one way or the other. But like, first game she came back, saw each other, big hug. How you doing? How's the dog? How you liking Indy? Congrats on all the stuff, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just it's a lot of people, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of young basketball players, boys and girls come, um, you know, just if you appreciate the game, you're seeing it at arguably its highest caliber, and it's especially its newest incarnation. Um, you know, from what I remember it as, because I like when I was at the Storm in the 2000s, it was a completely different game. And then you know your Bird, your Diana Taurasi, they changed the game and how it was played. Asia Wilson changes the game and how it's played. You know, certainly Alyssa Thomas is changing the game and how it's played. Caitlin is you know is doing the exact same thing. So I think it's a real mix of sort of everybody, and you know people are coming out and having a good time. Obviously, you know we have our communities that tends to do better in maybe than others, and there are some people who you're never going to win over. But I have yet to meet somebody that comes to a game for the first time and goes, "Man, that was not really fun. Like that was an absolute blast."
Yeah, I took my kids to a Mercury game and for the first time in 2018. I think it was actually it was I feel fortunate because it's Maya Moore's last season.
Oh yeah.
And she was awesome. And Duana Bonner was awesome in that game. And my kids loved it. Right after the game, my daughter's like, I want a BG jersey, so,
Well, and I
you
have to
know,
say too, I mean, I want to make sure I mention this. Like our current majority owner, Matt Ishbia, has been absolutely fantastic with truly, truly treating the Mercury players at the same level as the Suns players. They have their own dedicated practice facility, which is state of the art, absolutely incredible. We had the All-Star game here last year. Um, First class event, flying colors, seemingly from every review that I've heard. We're going to have the NBA All-Star game here next year or 2 years from now. But he really has made a commitment to making sure that these athletes, and number one, as athletes they're treated well, and as people they're treated well. And so that's a real huge thing. And that goes into things like, we have the same lighting system that the Suns have. And that sounds silly, but it's like when you go to a Suns game and they turn the lights out and they've got the intelligent lighting swooping around and this, that, and the fog machines and the pyro and the stuff, and then you go to a Mercury game and maybe they don't do that or they don't have all the things. It's like, well, what? Like, why aren't we doing that? It's the same, it's the same level of energy, same intensity. We have this, dancers. We have the golden grannies and the dancing dads and I mean, we have it. The presentations are so close that it's really hard to say like, oh, you're really putting 80% into the Suns and we're going through the motions with the Mercury. Far from it. And I will tell you, having been through the practice facility in our HQ, it is gorgeous. So credit to our ownership and leadership team for that. So,
oh, that's awesome because that was going to be one of my questions just to check in because it's a big topic I think with the W right now, right?
Sure.
Is equal treatment and fair pay and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely it was on my mind. So I'm glad to hear that. I think it's important to have a dedicated ownership group. And I know the Mercury are having a good season. And hopefully the Suns can kind of rebound after what
Sure.
they've kind of gone through.
Yeah,
I'm a big Jalen Green fan, so hopefully he takes off there for them.
Well, and
So
the two organizations really do support each other. I mean, Book was there for the majority of the game last night. Jalen Green has stopped by. Um, our head coach Jordan Ott was there, or Suns head coach, I said Jordan Ott was there a couple days ago. They just did a thing with the Phoenix Rising FC, which is our USL soccer team. A bunch of the players were at was it Girls in Sports Night that the D-backs hosted the other day. So I mean, there's a lot of reciprocity between both, not only just the Suns but other teams in the Valley. And like I said, I mean, if you ever doubt, I mean, there's 3 championship banners that are hanging in those rafters that have the Mercury logo on them. And they do a lot of really good things. Our fans, we do a Rock the Pink auction every year for breast cancer, and it's always in the tens of thousands of dollars. And I mean, our fan base is just so good. They move the needle, and then there's certainly crossover, between them and other sports. So, I mean, the Mercury are certainly a player in this town when it comes to sports and the scene and whatnot. And I was just talking with somebody the other night who was at a game with me. I was like, you realize there was like 7 Olympians on the floor most of the night? Like Olympians,
incredible,
like medal winners. And she's like, I guess I didn't really realize that. And I was like, well, yeah, there's Alyssa Thomas and Kalia Copper and Brianna Stewart. And, Sandy Brondello used to be our coach. She's the head coach of Australia's Olympic team. And she's got a couple of medals and like all these things. And you start to appreciate the talent. And, like I say, it really is impressive. So, yeah. And like I said, Suns have been great. And they come to games and show up and show out. So, and vice versa when our players are in town for their season.
So, final question before we let you go. Is there one signature moment that you have announced that stands out in your mind throughout your entire career so far with the Mercury?
Yeah. I mean, I've been really fortunate. Obviously, BG's first game back was really, really special. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, myself included. Diana's 10,000th point was really big. But, the one that really stood out for me was our first home game after COVID. It was I feel like I should have the script memorized because it was such a big deal. But, obviously they did the year in the bubble. I mean, look, we all remember the crazy reality that we lived through, right? I remember going down to, being on Suns games because, well, I mean, shit, like I can remember driving into the parking garage to get my nose swabbed 2 days before a game so I could sit at the table and do PA or just even be in the building. I remember, when we had no fans at Suns games and I was sitting there with an iPad playing fake crowd noise, and stuff like that. And I remember coming back and I don't remember, I don't even think we were at full capacity yet. And I'm going to forget the line, but it's something like, X Factor, it's been 536 days or something like that. And it was just welcome home. And it was such a like a communal moment for me. And it was a moment for me as much as anybody because I didn't get to go to games. It's not like, I mean, I went to a handful but it wasn't the same thing. And, there's a real special feeling at Mercury games. I think there's a lot of community, a lot of, people recognize you. Hey, how you doing? How's the kids? How are the kids? How the dog? How's the job? How's your trip? Whatever it may be. Um, and just to be able to sort of deliver that group welcome back message and know that we were turning the corner and getting back to this shared event that we really all enjoy was a real special one for me.
Well, I think that time really put in perspective the importance of fans. And I think before that, I know for myself that's something that was taken for granted in terms of this the fan interaction with sporting events. And I think with the pandemic and afterwards, I think we saw fans come back at full capacity. I think you saw the importance of what fans, they make into a sporting event, not just supporting it financially, but also just other intangibles too. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Alan, you were talking about the come down period after games. I mean, it's it's interesting. I was having a conversation. I don't want to like totally sidetrack this, but it's really weird when you live your life that's highlighted by like large sporting events and crowd moments. It's like, boy, the days when you're just home like reading a book are really boring, you know? And I think there's definitely the come down part for me, especially when it's a really big emotional game. It takes me a little while to wind down, but I also think I notice it in the day to day too. And it's like, oh yeah, like there's not 10,000 people cheering because I said something and somebody did something. And, like we're not scripting out this whole performance or entertainment or mascot element or whatever. And like, not every day is the All-Star game or the finals or whatever it may be. But, yeah, I mean, like, I said, I'm really fortunate to get to do what I do. And if that's my biggest complaint, I'll take that every day of the week. So,
Awesome. Well, Patrick, hopefully you get to say 2025 WNBA champions at the end of
I
the
would say
season.
somebody's fingers need a ring. That's all I'm going to say. I was fortunate to get one from the Arizona Fall League last year, so I have one championship ring to my PA announcing name, but
nice.
a Mercury one with a big little purple orange would look really 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 nice. So hopefully.
Patrick, we've enjoyed your time with us. Truly appreciate it. Can you let our audience know where they can find you on social media? If you have any upcoming projects and where they can catch you not only with the Mercury, but your other announcing gigs as well?
Yeah, so best place is really Instagram at Pat Lagreid, Lagreid. As far as other announcing, Phoenix Mercury, obviously, the Valley Suns, which is going to kick off here in November, plays at Mullet Arena on the campus of Arizona State University, which is our G League team. Future Suns, hopefully making their way up to the big club during spring training. Oh, and also during the fall, you can find me at Salt River Fields for the Arizona Fall League, home of the Salt River Rafters. Spring, you can find me at Salt River Fields again for D-backs and Rockies spring training, the occasional Suns game, and then you may hear me doing commercials somewhere, or your favorite safety training video, or your some employee, training you have to do somewhere. And then if you're into the premium cigar world, you can also find me on halfwheel.com, which is a website that covers news, reviews, other stuff from premium cigars with myself and two of my business partners. But yeah, I mean, at Pat Lagreid is kind of the great starting place on Instagram. And yeah, man, if you ever see me out in the wild, definitely stop by and say hi. I'm always happy to chat, whether it be PA announcing a basketball or baseball or cigars or whatever it may be. But yeah, definitely don't be. I know sometimes I look a little grumpy or I look a little focused, but that's just game face, and I'm happy to chat. So
Awesome.
you're so focused. That's what I hear from people. I said I'm walking out to the arena, getting that game face lock on. It's like it's just how I hype myself up, and
You're in the zone. Yeah.
I'm sure I'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Appreciate it, Patrick. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, and a real pleasure to be with both of you tonight. And hopefully we'll be celebrating the Mercury Championship.
Yeah, we'll see. The plans are going to be, they're super competitive. So we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be, we got a couple more games left. And like I said, we say every game matters, and that's certainly true. So
yeah,
we'll be watching, keeping our fingers crossed for them.
Appreciate it, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.